So who the hell is this Kurt Schlichter guy anyway?
Kurt Schlichter.
Kurt Schlichter was personally recruited to write conservative commentary by Andrew Breitbart. He is a successful Los Angeles trial lawyer, a veteran with a master's in strategic studies from the United States Army War College, and a former stand-up comic. Well, that all sounds pretty impressive, so how come he's such a dumbass? The other day on Twitter, some crazy lady named Jew Hadi, she was posting all this dumb shit, and it turns out she was just quoting a new article by Kurt Schlichter. This article is called Hollywood Won't Make Awesome Movies Anymore. I say it's a new article, but it doesn't feel like it. It's the same old talking points that I've heard a million times about how Hollywood is bad now. Let's take a look.
When Burt Reynolds drove his celestial Trans Am into the great beyond, he took a significant chunk of America's dwindling reserve of testosterone along with him. Unless you grew up in the 70s, it's hard to understand his influence and impact, and how he reflected what Americans, particularly American men, wanted to be. Flicks like The Longest Yard, Smokey and the Bandit, and the criminally underrated Sharky's Machine all offered us a tough but funny hero who took on the bullies in authority with a smirk, a joke, and when appropriate, a football to the nether regions. Of course, you couldn't make any of those movies in 2018. They are all too subversive, and Hollywood, a key component of the elite establishment, isn't interested in subversion. It's won. It's taken power. Now it's interested in submission. Your submission.
I mean, what the hell is he talking about? Look, I like old movies too, but I also like new movies. You're telling me that there's no movies around with tough but funny heroes? Manly heroes who stand up to people and do whatever they want at all times, usually with a sense of humor? You can't find that anywhere?
Forget movies that challenge the status quo by violating our elite's delicate sensibilities and myriad taboos. Count out Blazing Saddles. It's perhaps the most powerful attack on the utter stupidity of racism ever put on film. But the snowflakes would melt, and besides, as the New York Times demonstrated by hiring bigoted no-talent Shara Zhong, today's elite is actively pro-racism.
Wait a minute, Kurt. You're actually claiming that you can't find any movies to watch today that deal with racial issues? Are you the one person in America who's never seen Get Out? That movie was awesome. And you know, I would bet you $1 million that there's like a ton of conservatives who believe that movie, that the villains in the movie are evil white conservatives. They're not. The villains in the movie are evil, privileged, New England liberals. I bet you didn't know that, Kurt. But Get Out's not the only one. You can go watch Dear White People, or that new one, Sorry to Bother You. These are movies that are all about race and racism, and they're funny and weird and terrifying and great. You're just not looking hard enough if you don't think these kind of movies exist.
Forget Dirty Harry. He's not understanding enough of the criminal's point of view, which was the same liberal crook-coddling attitude the movie critiques. Also, guns are scary, and we should solve our problems with words unless it's politically useful to, say, conduct a weapons-drawn pre-dawn raid on a white-collar crime suspect associated with a conservative political opponent. Then guns are cool.
Yeah, they are cool. That's how come you see them in movies all the time. Wait a minute, now you're claiming that you can't find movies where you can't find movies where people shoot guns? Are you fucking kidding me? I see guns in movies all the time. You can almost hardly find a movie that doesn't have people firing guns these days. And if you specifically want a movie where conservatives, old white male conservatives, are firing guns, they still make those too. I mean, they just remade Death Wish with Bruce Willis and Mel Gibson and that other guy. They're making some kind of weird retro Dirty Harry type movie called Dragged Across Concrete or something. These movies exist. You're crazy if you think they don't.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High? No way. The spectacular Phoebe Cates swimming pool scene reaffirms the cis-normative male gaze, and we can't have men enjoying beautiful women. Male happiness makes liberal feminists melt. In a 2018 reboot, Phoebe'd be wearing a burqa to show solidarity with her oppressed sisters, and Judge Reinhold would be fantasizing about watching her write an article for Vox on how men disappoint her by not being hairy versions of women.
Wait, what? I didn't even understand that last part. What the fuck? Wait a minute. You can't find movies with guns, and you can't find movies with beautiful bikini-clad women in them? I hate to tell you, but they still make those. Everywhere. All the time. time. There are still dude bro comedies. Watch any movie with Seth Rogen and James Franco. Watch that movie Neighbors, or Neighbors 2, or Hot Tub Time Machine, or Hot Tub Time Machine 2, or just, I mean, there's millions of these fucking movies. Movies about dumb American males just goofing off and having a good time and looking at bikini babes. How can you not find these? I mean, let's not gloss over the incredible stupidity and wrongness of this. He said if they made a movie today with a girl in a bikini, she'd be wearing a burqa. I want you to tell me, when was the last time you saw a movie where the female lead character was wearing a burqa? Name one. Name the movie. Name just one. And then he just goes on and on like this.
If Animal House were to be rebooted, Hollywood would make the Omegas the heroes. After all, today's establishment is essentially once upon a time, normal people were Hollywood's heroes, rebelling against the pompous windbags who wanted to keep them down. But that's changed. Today's leaders are those pompous windbags. They're terrifying rebellious people that want to keep Christ and Mrs. Hollywood just wants to start with this.
I can't take it. This is pure insanity. Kurt Schlichter wrote this entire article, and conservatives are reading it and nodding in agreement and passing it around on Twitter, and not a single thing in it is even true. It's all lies. Lies that anybody who has 2 eyes and 2 ears can easily see aren't true. The complete and total avoidance of reality here is stark and total and disturbing.
I really liked that Batman movie they made back in 1966. I wish Hollywood would make more Batman movies. We haven't had a movie about Batman since then.
Wait, actually there have been many more Batman movies made. Have you seen The Dark Knight?
No! Those don't exist. Only the crazy skewed reality in my brain exists.
I mean, that's literally the level of insanity that we're dealing with here. Again, if you're looking for a movie that has a wisecracking alpha male hero, I mean, have you ever seen any movie with Chris Pratt? There are 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies and 2 Jurassic World movies. Those 4 movies in total are huge and popular, and I guarantee you they made more money than every movie that Burt Reynolds did in his entire career put together. And in all of them, Chris Pratt, he plays, you know, the stereotypical, lighthearted, tough guy, gunslinging American male hero. He's blue collar, he does what he wants, and his love interest is kind of a snooty, uptight woman who doesn't want anything to do with him until he wins her over with his heart of gold. He's a lovable rascal, and he's the exact same type of male character that you'd see in the 70s. If Chris Pratt was making movies in the 70s, he'd be driving around in his Trans Am and trying to elude Smokey. Sure, nowadays you have dinosaurs and spaceships in there because that's what the kids are into, but it's the exact same vibe. Very little has changed. All these middle-aged assholes who listen to people like Kurt Schlichter, I mean, they're really missing out on stuff that they would probably like. Ever since the controversy last month, suddenly every conservative knows exactly who James Gunn is. They look at his photograph and they're like,
oh, look at him. He looks like a perverted liberal Hollywood soy boy.
These movies are not liberal, and the characters are not liberal. Far from it. Star-Lord, Drax, Yondu, these are some of the manliest, most maliest, most alpha dude bro characters that have ever been in any movie ever. Dude, Kurt Schlichter, brah, have you even seen Cobra Kai? I don't know a single person who's seen Cobra Kai and hasn't raved about it. It's great. It's fucking perfect. It's beautiful. And it's all about a grown-up Johnny Lawrence, and he's like this kind of racist, kind of sexist, kind of old-school conservative asshole. And everybody loves him. Me and my liberal friends love him, and I know a bunch of conservative assholes online who love him. Johnny Lawrence is universally beloved. Dude, bro, Cobra Kai, come on, man. You know, there was one time, just this one time, I tried to pin down a conservative and get him to admit about the absolute wrongness of the premise that there are no more manly American heroes in movies. I pointed out all this stuff, and his response was to squirm and then say,
yeah, well, none of those count because those are just fictional heroes. It's police officers who are the real heroes.
And I was like, wait, what? Fictional heroes? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about movies, Hollywood, fiction. That's what you were specifically saying. And then he just ducked out because, well, let's face it, he's one of the stupidest people I've ever met in my entire life. Isn't that right, Jimmy? And if you're suddenly claiming that only police characters can be actual heroes, wait a minute, what about Burt Reynolds? What about Smokey and the Bandit? Burt Reynolds wasn't Smokey. He was the bandit. Like, what the fuck? They keep changing everything on you. I know this all seems pointless, and you're asking yourself, why would you ever debate such a retard in the first place? Well, that exchange, although infuriating and useless, it does kind of illuminate two things about how the conservative mind works. See, this is what conservatives do. They believe wrong things, and they'll go to any lengths and use any mental gymnastics to try to avoid admitting that fact to themselves. The other interesting thing about the conservative brain is that depending on the situation, they either see their side as being the cop or being the rebel. They kind of flow back and forth between those two extremes. They're with the authority figure or they're with the subversive rebel. Either one, both at once, whichever one they feel like at the moment. That's very interesting. Still, that cognitive dissonance has to be a bitch, right? That's why they listen to assholes like Kurt Schlichter to try to find preemptive reasons not to see new movies. They want to be told beforehand that they're going to hate it. When the Wonder Woman movie came out last year, some conservative asshole wrote an article claiming that the movie was secretly liberal just because Wonder Woman did not have her star-spangled panties on. And you try to explain this to them, they're like, hey, it's like a prequel. It takes place in 1918 during World War I. It's Diana, and at this point in the series, she doesn't even know what America is, so she can't have the American flag plastered all over her ass. And they just reject that. They're like, nope, well, the screenwriter only did that to piss me off, to insult America. And you can't convince them otherwise because they're just really that stupid. The thing is, I don't think Kurt Schlichter is actually that stupid in real life. I think he's just lying. He knows that his audience are all these old, pissed off, middle-aged conservatives sitting at home and hating their lives. They don't want to think about how their lives are so different from the Hollywood glitz and glamour machine, and they're no longer young, they're no longer sexy. So it's better to just eat all those sour grapes and pretend that everything out of Hollywood is bad. And it's so bizarre because they've been repeating these same lies over and over again for years. This video that I'm making right now, all this stuff I'm saying, I meant to make a video about this like 5 years ago, but I'm just getting around to it now. Because back then, it was back in, it was in 2011. I remember that because there was this other conservative guy named Bill Whittle, old Grandpa Bill. He made this video called Walking into Mordor, and every conservative online was applauding it and retweeting it and passing it around. This article by Kurt Schlichter is just the same things in that video just said over again. In the video, Grandpa Bill, he says something like, "You see, it's just that Hollywood no longer makes movies about real American heroes. Every movie that comes out of the Hollywood factory is about sexual deviants who are into heavy drug use and child pornography. Oh, how horrible." And I watched that, and I started typing up like this really long, detailed response about how that's not true. And then I just stopped, and I erased it all, and I said, hey, listen, the #1 movie at the American box office right now, this week, is Captain America: The First Avenger. And it's like exceeding expectations. It's making like $60 million instead of the $30 million that Marvel expected it to. How can you say that when that is happening? How do you get more American than Captain fucking America? Oh, well, just that Pulp Fiction. They made that movie Kids back in the 90s, and that's all. Ooh. So stupid. It's so stupid. It makes my brain hurt. Seriously, people, this nostalgia is beginning to get out of hand, and it's even starting to affect people who aren't that old and who aren't even that conservative. There's that guy, the amazing atheist, TJ Kirk. The other week on Twitter, he was saying the same stuff that Kurt Schlichter was saying. Yeah, Hollywood used to be cool and have imagination, but now it's all lame, and I don't like it. It's just not true. TJ, listen to me. Avengers Infinity War is better than Batman Forever. Black Panther is better than Blade. Better Call Saul is better than Law and Order, or basically any other legal show that you've ever seen. The Last Jedi is way better than Attack of the Clones. Hell, I think Last Jedi is better than the original Star Wars. Yeah, fight me. Listen to me. Deadpool 2 that came out earlier this year is the best superhero spoof movie ever made. Ever. It's better than Mystery Men. It's better than Kick-Ass. It's better than Blank Man. It's better than Meteor Man. It's better than any other superhero spoof spoof movie that's ever been made. This is just a fact. Hell, I see geeks online all the time talking about how Cowboy Bebop is the greatest anime ever made. It's really not. Go back and watch it. I dare you. It seemed like it at the time, but when you go back and watch it today, you forget that there were a whole lot of really boring filler episodes. Everyone remembers the high points like Mad Perot, or the one where they trip on mushrooms, or the 3 or 4 episodes where he actually fights Vicious. Nobody remembers like the super boring Feng Shui episode, or the one with the kid, or the one where they went to the planet and it's just really boring. No. Cowboy Bebop was really good, but you know what? My Hero Academia is better. It's way better. I grew up loving Batman the Animated Series, but you know what? You go back and watch it, it's still good, but not as good as you remember.
Hurry up with that gravy! Hurry up with that gravy!
Especially the movie Mask of the Phantasm. I went back and watched that movie a few years ago and oh geez, it was okay. I mean, the story and the concept and everything was spot on, but there was something about the pacing. It just felt so much clunkier than I thought it would. Something about it just was not right. And I hate to say that. I suffer from nostalgia just like everybody else. You just have to be smart enough to see it for what it is. Just 1 week ago, this old guy at my job, he said something like, I feel sorry for kids these days. They don't even have any good cartoons. Not like the good ones that we had. Porky Pig, Popeye, Woody Woodpecker. Those were the good ones. Everything today is crap. Poor kids. And I'll be honest, I couldn't even bring myself to say, listen, Porky Pig is crap. Woody Woodpecker is crap. Kids today have The Legend of Korra and Steven Universe and My Hero Academia, and they have The Dragon Prince and The Venture Brothers, and they have Gravity Falls and Miraculous Ladybug, and probably like 1,000 other things that I can't name because I'm not aware of them. If you ask me, kids today almost have too much entertainment. They could actually do with less. And that's my final point. All this nostalgia about how the way things used to be, it's all bullshit. Kurt Schlichter is a dishonest, lying, evil piece of shit. And none of this really matters. It's just Hollywood movies and cartoons and TV shows. It's just stuff that we enjoy when we're not working or doing anything of value. It's not even all that important. It just bugs the hell out of me that people are so wrong. When it comes to Hollywood entertainment, all of us, everywhere, every single person listening to this, we are sitting at the head of some enormous banquet table that's just overflowing with delicacies. But most people are sitting around and reminiscing about the good old days and saying, oh man, remember school lunches in 5th grade? They had those weird, those rock hard waffles for breakfast. You know, those were kind of neat. I mean, they were disgusting, but I liked them. But they were just so much better than what we have now. I miss those old waffles. You're wrong. You're all stupid. Nostalgia is bullshit. Things are better now and you just can't handle it. Goodbye.
right here. Come on, boy. Come on, big boy. Hey,